Shalom and welcome to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, and today we're visiting in studio with Drew Ann Long, author of Game Changer, The Remarkable Story of Caroline's Cart. Drew, welcome to the program.
Thanks.
So nice to see you.
Glad to be here.
We share a lot more in common than just your book and the fact that you're here from Alabama. Pat Lazito sits on my board, and he's your neighbor, and
Yes.
his wife Kathy used to be my assistant. So
Great.
Lots of connections there. Now, the story is truly a remarkable story because the end of the story is you were able to take a challenge that faces so many parents who have a child that has needs that fall outside of what we would call the standard status quo accommodations for children.
Right.
Whether or not it be on airline seats or car seats or, in this case, a shopping cart.
Right.
And this is Caroline's story. This is what came out of the birth of your second child.
Right.
But this is kind of where the story is today, but there's a lot more to the backstory. You got married.
Mm-hmm.
How did you meet your husband?
I am from Louisiana, and I went to college at LSU, and I graduated, and I worked there for a couple of years. And just, young single, I wanted to get out. So moved to Birmingham, Alabama, where I knew no one. And my college roommate went to high school with David, my husband, and said, "Hey, you have no friends there. You need to meet this guy named David Long." I said, "No, there was no social media then, no cell phone, so it's a completely different world." But she's like, "Well, what if you have a flat tire someday?" So just to appease her, I reached out to him, and we are now married. 22 years, yes.
22 years.
Yes.
All right, and you have 3 children?
3 children, yes. My oldest is a freshman at Auburn University. Caroline, my middle child, special needs, 16, and my son, Matthew, is 12 in the 6th grade.
So, marriage, couple years into the marriage, you have your first child.
Right.
Everything is...
Life's great.
Good. You
Right.
find a good church home?
Yes, we were members of Shades Mountain Baptist Church in Vestavia. I was working at an engineering firm downtown. We had our first child, and life was perfect. So we thought.
Well, and from God's perspective, life is still perfect.
Absolutely, right. Through the challenges, yes.
So you became pregnant with your second child.
Second child, and great pregnancy, same prenatal care, same everything. Had her at Brookwood Hospital, and they sent me home with a perfectly healthy baby. That's what I was told. That's what I brought home. Again, life's great. I'm now a mom of 2, and we knew nothing about Caroline's disabilities till she was about 1 year. We knew nothing. It was a hidden disability, and around 1, we started noticing things that just were not right. And a lot of denial there. Didn't want to investigate it. Didn't want to go to the doctor because I knew deep down something was wrong, and I knew it was bad wrong. And it was very, very hard to face, especially because she was healthy for a year. Mm-hmm. And why is she not healthy anymore? So, you have to face that. And we started investigating it. And when she was about 4 years old, she was diagnosed with a genetic condition called Rett syndrome. There is no cure. She does not walk or talk. She never will. It is what it is. She has seizures. She's medically fragile. We take one day at a time. We take one season at a time. And she's just a tremendous blessing to us and everyone who knows her.
Now, you were still at Shades Mountain Baptist at this time?
When she was born, yes. She was, her baby dedication was at Shades Mountain, yes. Yep.
Okay, and this is the church home of Rick and Sherry Burgess.
Right, yes. So. Well, when Caroline turned about 1, we actually moved to Alabaster.
Okay.
And when we moved to Alabaster, we wanted to get in our community Baptist church. So now we are members of First Baptist Alabaster. But we were at Shades for many years. Both my girls were dedicated there. But now, when we moved, we did move our letter to First Baptist Alabaster.
Okay. And so you join a new church. Okay. You have, you both were raised Baptist?
I was born and raised Baptist. My husband was not saved when I met him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how did his journey to faith come about?
Again, I was Baptist from birth, and when I met David, he was just the nicest, most genuine person you've ever met.
Mm-hmm.
And dating was not, he was just a friend at first.
Right.
Well, when I got to know him, I found out that he was one that you grow up hearing about, at least in my Baptist Sunday school world, of a great, good, wholesome person that is lost and is not going to go to heaven. And when I met David, I was devastated. And I liked him. I wanted to date, but I knew that I could not marry someone that was not a believer. I knew that. And I prayed for him, and I shared my faith with him. Mm-hmm. And it was hard. I mean, it was hard for him. He was hearing things he had not heard before. And we were at Shades again, and he visited. He was willing to go visit with me. And members of that staff visited him. And I just faithfully prayed that the Lord would change his heart. But I knew I would have to walk away if David was not saved. I knew that was...
This is such a significant issue, especially today. As ministers, we talk to our congregants, we talk to the public about being unequally yoked, the dangers, and I'm Jewish, so in Deuteronomy we're instructed not even to date outside of Judaism.
Right.
You'll take on other gods. You'll leave the faith. There's an admonition early on, 4,000 years ago, giving this instruction. Mm-hmm. And then we find in Scripture telling us not to be unequally yoked.
That's right.
So you liked the guy.
I did.
You found wonderful qualities in him, but all of those qualities were overshadowed by one overarching.
Absolutely.
And did you think that you were in love with him at the time?
Yes, I did.
But yet you were still willing to walk away.
I actually did walk away. We had become very great friends, and we had dated, and it came to a point that he was visiting church with me, but he just couldn't. I just felt like he had stopped. He was not willing to continue the same path I was, and I remember telling him that I did have to walk away. And I remember being in my apartment, and I got on my knees and I said, Lord, I don't know. You've led me to Birmingham, of all places. Why did I end up in Birmingham, Alabama? I knew no one. I believe that David is who you have for me, but I cannot and I will not marry someone who is not a believer. I cannot do it. I would not raise my children in a home like that. And I love David, and I wanted him desperately to be saved. And I stayed on my knees many nights for him. Mm-hmm. And the Lord absolutely 100% changed his heart. I'm thankful to the pastors at Shades Mountain who helped to counsel him. Because, when you're raised without the Lord, and then all of a sudden at 23, 24 years old, it's hard. You've got to overcome things in your past of, how did this happen, and how did I get this far? And it was hard for him. It was very hard. And again, the Lord changed his heart, and it's happy ending. He is now a deacon at First Baptist Church, Alabaster.
So, Scripture talks about if you're married and you came to faith, that you should not leave your husband because he's an unbeliever, because of you, he may very well come to faith. You represent a very small percentage of those. I've had many in my office who I said that I would not perform their ceremony because they were not equally yoked, and they would run out the door and go find a justice of the peace or somebody that would. and invariably it would not turn out well. And we see that happen quite often. Who was it that influenced you?
My parents.
Your parents?
Yes. I was born into a godly Christian home. I am forever thankful for that foundation. Just something that so many just don't have, and doesn't make it easy, but I did know the truth. I knew it early on, and I was not willing to, I don't know what the word is.
Compromise.
Right, compromise when it came to my spouse. And as I prayed for David, and who knows your heart better than anyone is the Lord. And I remember being angry, like, oh, why did I fall in love? I didn't want to fall in love with him, but I did. And I think that was the Lord didn't want me to walk away, but yet wanted me to pray for him. And it was a beautiful journey for us to go together, for us to experience together. And it is a great testimony. And it's one that we can share with our children, especially my daughter, who is now older. And she knows our story, and she knows that the Lord has someone especially for her, and she cannot compromise on that.
It's so important, this foundation of faith. So important that these lessons are imparted consistently. It's the consistent message over and over and applied in all situations. So Caroline's born. All looks like it's fine.
Right.
She's eating, sleeping, growing.
Perfect.
And did you begin to sense?
Around 9 months, she was not sitting up. And I was like, Mary Grace sat up at 6 months. So probably, if I'm honest with myself, the signs were there earlier. But I didn't want to compare them. She was a bigger baby. I'm like, okay, well, she's bigger, she weighs more, there's more to hold up. Seems so silly now, but you look for anything. You hold on to just anything. So around 9 months, when she wasn't sitting up, I was concerned. And David and I we just kept dismissing it because we wanted to dismiss it. And then by 12 months, still not sitting up, not even trying to toddle around, Mary Grace was walking at 10 months. So I couldn't deny it anymore at 12 months. So yes, she was not hitting milestones. And then what's so horrifying about Rett syndrome is they have a regression period. So Caroline used to have full function of her hands. She could feed herself. She could pick up things. She eventually learned to hold on to the furniture and cruise around. Well, it's a regressive disease. So by the time she was 2.5, she had no more hand function. She could not bear weight. She lost all her babbling, cried all the time, and it's just horrifying. So to this day, she still cannot use her hands. She has seizures that are well controlled. She's in a wheelchair. She's tube fed, but she's happy. I mean, she's a happy child, and we know that she's in there. But yeah, it's not an easy diagnosis by any stretch for the parents, because you don't have it immediately. You take home this healthy baby, and your life goes on, and then all of a sudden it's just the slap in the face, this abrupt. Well, what do you mean she was healthy? And it's a cruel diagnosis for sure.
You're given this diagnosis. The long-term picture is long-term care.
Forever, right? Long-term care and lifespan. I mean, you don't ever want to go there, but we don't know her lifespan. She's just, any time you have a child that is neurologically compromised, has seizures, and is sick often, you just don't know. So we take one day at a time, one season at a time with her. We love her. We include her in everything we can, hence the book. And we just trust the Lord.
Have you found a way to communicate?
She does have a communication device. She can answer simple yes or no, and she has great eye contact. And being her mom, I know I know the cries. I can hold up things and she can make choices. Very simple. So yes, I can communicate with her. Never through speaking, but just I know her every whimper, her every need. So we laugh and say that, it's good to be Caroline Long sometimes. I mean, we pamper her. She's a rock star at her school. She's well known in the community. And we just do our very best to give her the best possible life. And we want her to reach her highest potential, whatever that is.
So this truly is faith at work.
Oh, 100%.
In your diagnosis, what were your thoughts towards God?
I was raised to fear the Lord. I knew better than to be angry at God. I was never angry because of my upbringing, and I know that this is not our life. I know we are not to be comfortable in this life. I think I questioned, Lord, there's 5 billion people on this planet. Okay, you chose me. I have no backup system here. We had no parents here. I was working full time. David had a 2-year-old, almost 3. So I was never angry, and the Lord knows my heart. I was never angry, and I never shouted out and lashed out at God. But in my humanness, I did question, okay, sure. Lord, I can't, I don't know if I can do this. This is hard. I don't have a medical background, and I don't know if I don't know if I'm up for this. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, but to me there was a big difference in being angry and lashing out at the Lord.
Right.
We never quit church. It was more of a very doubtful. I mean, doubting myself and saying, okay, Lord, I just don't know. So I was brought to my knees in my faith. I always say, and I've learned that when the Lord talks to you through your children and or your pocketbook, it stings a little bit. And there was a lot of tears early on. Time heals all wounds, and now I know no other life with her. But I do know what it's like to be a Christian, like I said, and wonder why you have to walk these trials. Why? And I just come back to the fact that this is not our home. The Lord never said it would be easy. I don't think He wants us to be that comfortable. And I know my faith has changed. It has grown. My marriage has grown. I believe my other 2 children are better because of what they've seen with their sister. So lots of trials and tribulations, but lots of victories as well.
Now, you had a much stronger foundation of faith than David.
Yes.
How did he respond to this?
We all grieve in different ways. I think it was harder for David to accept. I think it's more natural that it is the father's job to protect, to fix. And he grieved in his own way. Never turned his back on the Lord. Never turned his, he and I, it brought us closer together
right.
in our prayer life. But I think it was harder for David just because he wanted to fix it so desperately, and he couldn't, and he had to surrender it to God. We had no other choice. So when we reached that point of surrender, and it wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight. I mean, it was probably a 2 to 3 year journey, and when we reached that place of surrender and just laid her at the altar, that's when everything started to come into place. You've got to accept what the Lord puts in your path. You have to be okay with it if you're going to be happy. And we knew that early on. And we knew that Caroline was our testimony early on. And we knew that how people saw us respond to this tragedy spoke about our heart and our testimony.
Over the course of the years, I've seen families destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
This becomes the wedge, a source of incredible jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
All your attention has to be focused away from me, your spouse.
That's right.
I have to give up everything, but yet I'm expected to do everything. And this idea of a person filling our needs as opposed to the Lord filling our needs comes into play when you face this kind of challenge in your faith walk, in your covenant marriage, and then you have all those watching.
Yep.
And it's the watchers, because it's the watchers that talk.
That's right.
It's the watchers that judge. It's the watchers that have an opinion of how you should
do it.
be doing what
Right.
you're doing. They have no knowledge of it. They don't have to live it. But that does not seem to bother anybody about voicing an opinion about what you should do.
So true. And the divorce rate for marriages that have a special needs child is upwards of 80%. And David and I knew that this could destroy us, or we could overcome it. And we chose to overcome it.
How? Because you had to be intentional. This had to be a deliberate.
Yes.
Because the drifting apart of couples that lose a child or have a special needs child, they are unintentional. They drift. They don't make the concerted effort to stay connected. They don't have, they don't understand the needs of the caregiver. And we have relationships with people who are caregivers for the caregivers.
Right. Right.
Peter Rosenberger is one of them. His wife has had hundreds of surgeries, and he is a full-time caregiver, and he ministers to caregivers because he knows.
He's been there.
He's been there.
Right. Right. We had to be intentional. We had to make it work. I was forced to quit my job to take care of Caroline. So then there's that added financial stress. I think we love our families, love them, but we didn't have them here for a crutch. We only had each other. And I think that was great for us. We didn't have anybody's mama to call. Wish we did, we needed that support, but we did not have it. It was me and David and these two little girls. And we wanted it to work. We were believers. We prayed. We made it work. That's, that sounds cliche, but you do what you have to do when you're in a situation and there are no lifelines. And we didn't have those lifelines. We only had each other.
We're talking with Drew Ann Long, author of a book called Game Changer, The Remarkable Story of Caroline's Cart. You've heard the background of this gift given to them as their second child, and about a couple's faith that sustained them to embrace this concept God gives us that for this reason a man will leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, and they will become one. And they chose to remain as one in the face of this. But not only did they remain one in the face of this, they faced a challenge of how do you live in a world, a mobile world, when the world is not equipped to help you with the mobility of a child that has needs. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Drew Ann Long, and we're going to hear the story of Caroline's cart and how the world has been changed. Your shopping experience at your local store has been changed, and how you may, in fact, already know this story and have no idea that you knew this story. We'll be right back.
This is Messianic Rabbi Eric Walker, Executive Director of Igniting a Nation Ministries, and your host for Revealing the Truth right here on the Igniting a Nation Broadcasting Network. I'm coming to you today with a very special offer from one of our very prominent guests, Dr. Carl Gallups. For your tax-deductible contribution of $30 or more, Pastor Carl Gallups will send you a signed copy of his new best-selling book, When the Lion Roars. In this book, you will discover what the Bible really says about the unprecedented demonic outpouring of the last days, the spirit of the days of Noah, the connection of technology and prophecy fulfillment, the spirit of Sodom and Gomorrah, apostasy in the last days church, why Turkey is central to last days prophecy, why Israel is the centerpiece of end-time prophecy, the historical truth about Islam and ISIS, the Shemitah, the mystery of 666, and how Christians in the church should respond to these prophetic times. We are living in intense but exciting times. We're living in prophetically unprecedented times. Be on guard, prepare your heart and mind, make certain you have a biblical balanced understanding of our generation. Be ready with wisdom and perspective. We have been raised up for such a time as this. The Lion of God's prophetic word is roaring. Do you hear its call? Send your check payable to Igniting a Nation, 2700 Corporate Drive, Suite 120, Birmingham, Alabama, 35242.
Hi, I'm Angela Waite, and I just finished my interview on Revealing the Truth with Rabbi Eric Walker. I hope that in some way you will be touched by my story and that you will receive the healing you so desperately desire. I would like to share my story with you and send you a personalized signed copy of my book, Bomb Pops, Blow Dryers, and Butterfly Kisses, for your tax-deductible gift of $25 or more to Igniting a Nation, Inc. I will personally send you my book along with a note of encouragement as you take this journey with me. You will not only be supporting the work of Igniting a Nation, but all the proceeds that I receive from book sales goes to support Ramsey's Rescue, which targets the physical and spiritual care of the little ones who have been abandoned. It is the goal of this ministry to provide food, clothing, education, medical, a safe and loving home, and hope. Please help support both ministries with your gift and make a difference in so many lives today. Send your check payable to Igniting a Nation, 2700 Corporate Drive, Suite 120, Birmingham, Alabama, 35242. May the Lord bless you for your generosity and support.
This is the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, Executive Director of Igniting a Nation and host of Revealing the Truth, right here on the Igniting a Nation Broadcasting Network, inviting you to join me every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday for our Prophecy in the News classes. Each week I take the headlines from around the world that have a biblical connection and present them in a way that brings the news and the Bible to life. There are over 2,500 prophecies in the Bible, and there are so few classes available to see how they connect with world events. We cover everything from Islamic terrorism to the changing relationships between Russia, Turkey, Iran, Syria, and Israel. Prophecy is unfolding before our very eyes, and to many, it is complicated and hard to understand. In just 1 hour each week, you'll be given the tools and the biblical connection to world events. With so much going on, and so few reliable sources of news, I encourage you to join me every Monday night at 7 o'clock p.m. at St. Mark United Methodist Church in Northport, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. at Beechwood Baptist Church in Mount Olive, and every Thursday night at 7 p.m. at Mountain Chapel United Methodist Church in Vestavia. If you want to make sense out of what's happened in the world around you, this is the class for you. All are welcome. Times and location addresses can be found on our website at ianbn.com. I hope to see you there. Shalom.
Shalom and welcome back to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, and today we're visiting in studio with Drew Ann Long, author of Game Changer, the remarkable story of Caroline's cart. Now, we open the show talking about the remarkable story about Caroline, the challenges that go along with a child who has special needs, and compounded by not being able to be mobile, not being able to communicate, not being able to respond in a way that others can interact with, but mom can. And Drew, you wanted to not confine her, not institutionalize her, not respond to her like many would, who say, I'm not capable. I have a regular, normally developing child who's going to have needs completely in opposition to Caroline's needs. They're going to want to go places. They're going to want to do things. They've got to be mobile, and you don't have the in-laws. The grandparents weren't around.
Right.
You didn't have the support system of large local family where everybody would jump in. So the choice was include Caroline in all you do.
Right. She was always with me.
She needed to be with you,
Right.
and so life continued. Life didn't stop.
Life went on.
And you faced challenges when you were out there.
Right.
What were some of the challenges you faced in just going to Walmart or Target?
Was, of course, you know, the girls, Matthew was not born yet, but the girls were always with me. And I was having to bring Caroline's wheelchair in with me shopping. And I needed to get my groceries, and I needed a shopping cart, and I needed someone to push Caroline, and someone to help me with Mary Grace, and it became challenging, but I did it. You do what you have to do, and there was no other options. They were always with me. My husband traveled all the time. We had no family, so that's what we did. Time passed. I had my son. Life got even more complicated, more challenging.
Let me stop you right there. The doctors tell you that Caroline's condition is genetic.
Yes.
There's a gene involved.
A random genetic mutation, yes.
Okay? Somebody carried that gene somewhere through the family lineage somehow.
Well, we don't know that, but that's possible. They say
Okay.
that what she has is completely random,
Okay?
but it is in your genes, someone's genes.
Somebody's genes. Okay? And you make the decision to have another child.
Yes.
Full well knowing that whatever the randomness, whatever the astronomical odds are, you've already had an astronomically, virtually impossible
Right.
pregnancy.
Yep.
So was there trepidation? Was there questioning? Was there fear?
I knew that the Lord had put on my heart to have a third child. I went to David, and we talk about this in the book, and David was, whoa. David was very, what, you know, and he would not mind me saying that. We talked about it in the book. And I said, David, I feel the Lord has told me we are having another child. You might think it's crazy. I want you to pray about it. And I just want you to know that I have no fear. And even if it were to happen again, that's okay. It's okay, but I know that the Lord's telling me to have another child. So David did pray about it, and he agreed that we should try to have another baby, and we did. And when I was pregnant, I was 35 years old, so already high risk, 12 years ago at that age. And then with Caroline's history, all the doctors wanted to send me to UAB to have all this high-tech testing and ultrasounds and tests, and I denied every single test. And I said, if this baby has a tail, I'm having it. If it's a monkey with a tail, I'm having it. I denied every test, and I just trusted the Lord, and I just knew. I believed with every fiber of my being that I would have a healthy baby. And I did. I had a healthy boy. And I talk about in the book, so many people are bitter, and they're angry, and they wouldn't dare chance having another child. It is rare. It is rare in the special needs world for the special needs sibling to have a younger sibling because most stop. Most are fearful. And I talk in the book, had we been bitter, had we not trusted the Lord, I would not have my son.
It's an extraordinary story of faith at work. How faith overcomes all
Right.
human reason. That God is so much bigger.
Right. A lot of people couldn't, there was some gasps when we told people we were pregnant. And a lot of people, I think, thought that was an accident, that we didn't. And we were like, nope. And it was real eye-opener for me, the people that were not supportive right away. Because I thought, I know what they were thinking.
Right.
Oh, I can't believe she did that again. And again, if we had not trusted the Lord, we would not have our son.
The picture I see are the Pharisees surrounding this adulterous woman. And Jesus begins to write in the ground.
Yeah.
And he looks up and he says, you who are without sin, you cast the first stone, and they all disperse.
Right.
Because you're surrounded by the naysayers, by those people at church.
Yeah.
People who are in the pews of the church, who believe in the same God you do, are looking and questioning. And the thing they should have been questioning was themselves. Why didn't they have faith as strong as yours? Why would they question? If you say that this was a revelation from God, I want a piece of that God. I don't want a piece of the God that says, be afraid,
Sure.
be fearful.
Sure.
So your son comes into the world.
Right.
Now here you are a juggler. You are a circus act.
Right. I have a 6-year-old, a special needs child, and a newborn.
Right. You are the plate spinner extraordinaire. And
wow.
it all looks so good until you stop.
Whew.
And that's who you are. And you still have a husband that travels.
Yes.
He's providing for the family. There's 3 children at home. And you got to pack up the wheelchair and the stroller
Right.
and the 6-year-old.
Right. Oh, well, I had to have her. I couldn't leave the house without my 6-year-old. She was an extra set of hands. She could at least push, even though you couldn't see her little face over the cart. Couldn't go anywhere without her.
So Team Long hits the streets.
Yep. Here we go, like a circus.
And you're facing challenges.
Right.
But there's something about you. The challenges seem to be fuel, not obstacles.
It's all in the way you look at them. That's right. I didn't want to be at home. I didn't want to be sad. I wanted happiness is a choice, and that's what I chose to be.
So you want to put Caroline and have her, well, you want to push a cart.
Right. Well, I wanted to go to the store like a typical family. And as my son was maybe about 2 or 3, and here we are, where am I with 3 kids all the time? At the store.
Right.
Constantly. We got to eat, we're out of things, diapers. I mean, I was living at the store. And I began to notice that there was such a variety of carts that these retailers were providing for different people groups. It's a very over-accommodating industry. They want you in their store.
Right.
They lure you in their store. And as I looked at the variety of carts, and I saw one for every people group out there, I remember thinking, well, where is the special needs cart? There has to be a special needs cart for the older child, adult with a disability. And I remember thinking, and I talk about this in the book, that I live in Alabaster, Alabama. I never left Alabaster, Alabama, not with my circus. And I thought, well, I'll just find it and I'll bring it here. And there we start. Couldn't find it. Never existed.
So you looked. You
Looked everywhere.
You went on the web.
Oh, searched everywhere. Knew it had to be out there. I knew that this was now probably around 2008. the ADA, all the ADA, which is
Right.
the Americans with Disabilities Act, has done. I knew that retailers had to have handicap parking.
Right.
They have to have handicap bathroom. They have to have graduated curbs. The doors have to open. All that retailers have to provide for the disabled population, I knew the shopping cart had to be out there. And wasn't out there. It's never, ever has been a special needs shopping cart, ever.
So you threw up your hands and you say, well, that's it. They're just not going to take care of me.
I was angry, I'm going to be honest. I remember, I'll tell you, oftentimes, and I'm not proud of this, the special needs mom, special needs dad, has a chip on their shoulder. You know, we struggle and it's hard. And I'm not proud of that, but I was angry and I was like, wait a minute. You're telling, there's a baby cart, a toddler cart, a preschool cart, there's electric scooters, there's the bench, I mean, you name it, it's out there. And it made me angry that the entire special needs community was ignored. We call ourselves the invisible population. Why do we call ourselves that? Because in the retail world, when your stores are not accessible, it's very hard for us to be out. So you don't see us, but we're in your community. So I think it was the fact that I was angry that my money is as green as anybody else's, that I was spending in your store, yet I was struggling to do so. Or I was hiring a babysitter to take care of Caroline so I could shop. So that fueled me, and I'm glad that the Lord allowed that emotion to come out in me, because that's not typically me, and that's what launched this whole journey.
So where did you start?
I actually drew the very first sketch on a napkin in 2007. From there, I mean, I had no idea what to do. I mean, I have a degree in business. You know, I've worked in the corporate world, but I've never brought a product to market. And what made this so difficult, I had to go from a napkin, I had to hire a firm, and I had to get renderings and drawings and a prototype. What made my journey so different, there's a million entrepreneurs out there, a million inventors that design a product and they sell to the public.
Right.
I designed a product that the public wanted, but I had to sell to the retailer. So that was that makes my journey quite different than the average. There's 1,000 books on how to invent a product and sell a widget to Walmart. I was selling the shelf that the widget sat on. So here I've got all these people that want it once I got to that point in the journey and created the demand and the social media, yet they couldn't buy it. I had to convince the retailer, you know, that, hey, this is a shopping cart that you need in your store amongst all your other fleet sitting over there. So designing a product that had never been done before and having to sell to the retailer makes, I think, my story a little different than most.
So you wind up getting a prototype made,
Right?
okay, which requires a mold.
Oh yeah, it's extremely expensive.
Okay, and people don't realize injection molding, the precision, and
I didn't know. I was thrown into the world of manufacturing. I heard, you'll laugh in the book, I mean, I'm hearing words I've never heard before. My very first prototype, and there's a picture in the book, my very first cart, one, was $25,000. $25,000 for a cart that no one, just to prove, to get it off a piece of paper.
Right.
And that wasn't even the tip of the iceberg. And I'm so thankful that the Lord did not show me what this journey was going to be, because I would still be under the bed. I was so naive when I started this. I had no idea what it would take. I thought it would be simple. I thought from the drawing I'd be in the stores in 6 to 9 months. And it was actually about 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, just about 10 years.
Where'd the funding come from?
David and I took our retirement, and we put our retirement into this. And that's why I said earlier, when the Lord talks through your pocketbook of your children, while you'll listen. And never in a million years would I have thought that we would have had to do that. I would not have started this. We did not know. once we got past the prototype, just the seat mold for this seat, just the mold was $82,000. Again, we spent everything we had. We drained our savings. We had to go to our retirement with no guarantee of return. The Lord had put us in a place in this journey because He knows our hearts. He knew we'd quit. But when you have no money, when you put everything you have, and then you go to your retirement, it had to make it. And the Lord knew that I would have quit long ago had we not put everything we had into it. And I talk about all of that in the book. What a tremendous faith walk this was. It was financially devastating. There were years that we did not vacation. We couldn't. We told the kids, go play with that cart up there in the dining room. But, it is, I am very thankful that the Lord saw it through. I will tell you that.
And so, fast forward to the presentation. You're sitting in front of a major corporation.
Mm-hmm.
You show them what is now the refined, ergonomically correct package for a cart.
Yep.
And you say, ladies and gentlemen, Caroline's cart.
Yes. I will tell you that just about every retailer, or I would say every retailer, in that first year of presentations told us no. They were not, when you do something that's never been done, and I know this now, nobody wants to be the first.
Right.
Nobody wants to be the first. Again, I don't know this. To me, it made perfect sense. I had the stats. I had everything they needed to buy this product, but no one wanted to be the first. So I will forever be thankful to the small, in the industry they're called the mom and pops, the independently owned grocery stores, who took a chance on me and on Caroline's cart. They did not have the bureaucracy. They didn't have the red tape. They didn't have to move up the chain. It was those mom and pop, individually owned stores that would buy one and put it in their cart. And that's when the buzz started happening. We had we had enough money for 100 carts. We really didn't. To this day, I don't know where that money came from, but we ordered 100 carts just to kind of seed the market, strategically place them in the United States where we knew we could build demand. We only placed 88 because 12 burned in a fire. So we placed 88 carts in 2000 and the last half of 2012 and in 2013. And I have to say this, this story. We worked with a manufacturer out of here in the Southeast, and everything is delay. It just takes so long, and
Right.
You're given a date, and then it's moved, and it's moved, and it's moved. So the summer of 2012 was devastating for me. It just was heartache after heartache, and I finally just threw it up, and I said, okay, Lord, just, when you're ready to ship, I'm selling, I'm telling people dates, I'm not getting them. This is falling apart. So delay, and it was the evening of October 8th, 2012, and I was cooking dinner, and I lived with my cell phone on my laptop because I worked on this 24/7. And I remember cooking dinner, and I got a little bing on my email. I was like, okay, let me go see. And it was an email from the manufacturer who said, I know you've heard this before, but we are actually shipping carts tomorrow. It is happening. We are shipping carts tomorrow. We only have 12, but they're palletized. Here's a picture. They're going out tomorrow. I could not believe it, and I'll tell you why I could not believe it. The next day was October 9th, and that was Caroline's birthday. And that is the Lord.
That is the Lord.
Saying, this was mine. I got it. And here's how I'm going to remind you. And this is really what's going to get you. He only had 12. It's all he could send out on October 9th. It was her 12th birthday. If that doesn't tell you that this was a God-ordained project, we didn't have the money, the money came. We didn't have manufacturers came. We didn't have orders came. And I have many stories about that, but October 9th, 2012 was the first shipment of 12 carts on Caroline's birthday. Manufacturer did not know it was her birthday. No one knew it was her birthday. That was the Lord.
So today, bring us up to speed. Where is Caroline's cart today?
Caroline's cart is in every state. We are on military commissary bases, Army, Navy, Air Force in their commissaries. We are in Australia and New Zealand, growing great in Canada. We just recently shipped to, I always want to say Holland, but it's Sweden. We recently shipped to Sweden. We are in every Target in the United States. Target went nationwide a year ago. We are in many Walmarts. So Walmart now, every store manager can order upon request, but Walmart, I think, is going to start slowly rolling them out. We recently got in Home Depot and Best Buy. I recently heard we are in a Pier 1 Imports. So we really are targeting any retailer that has a shopping cart should also have a Caroline's cart for those families that can't use a traditional cart.
And are they branded?
Yes.
So you provide the entire cart, including the insert.
Well, the cart ships just like that.
It ships like the picture.
Right, just like that. It ships just like that.
Okay, so it is an integrated shopping cart.
Right.
With a larger insert for a larger child.
Up to 250 pounds.
Up to 250
Yes.
pounds.
Yes.
So I have an infirmed wife. I have an infirmed grandmother. I have an infirmed who would love to get out but cannot operate for him or herself and does not want to be pushed in a wheelchair.
Can't operate the electric scooter. That is one thing that even surprised me, was the response we got from the senior citizen community, from the Alzheimer's community, the Parkinson's. There's a photo in my book, the most widely viewed photo, it's like at 30 million today, is of a woman pushing her mom, who said, what did she love to do her whole life? Go to the store. She has Alzheimer's. I cannot take her. She walks so slow. I can't get the products I need with the wheelchair. I can't pile them up. We use this every single week. It has given her purpose. She's excited.
Imagine the joy. It's an excursion. It is a journey back to childhood for some. It is something that opens up a whole new vista, a whole new world.
That's right. I hear it all the time.
And this was birthed out of what some would call tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
That's not tragic at all.
Not at all.
It is a legacy. It is a testimony.
Mm-hmm.
It is a story of God at work in a way that it's unmistakable.
Any doubt I have, I say to myself, October 9th, 2012, because that's when the first cart shipped.
Right.
That's how the Lord let me know, if you didn't know this before, I got this. I got this.
So
God ordained.
God's restoring finances.
Yes.
God's redeeming time.
Yes.
Caroline's doing well.
Fantastic. Yes.
And life in the Long family is good.
It is good. Yes.
You can't outgive God.
No.
You cannot outserve God.
No.
I want to encourage our audience that if you're willing to face the giants in your life, they no longer become giants. We serve the God of the insurmountable. We serve a God who, against all odds, can and will bring victory. Game Changer is a story of the Long family and a product that came out of a need that is changing lives all over the world. because of a mother who was angry, righteously angry. What about my child? It is a story that will touch your heart. It'll challenge your faith, and it will give you a reason to fight back by joining together with the power of God that makes you a majority in any battle you fight. This is a modern day David and Goliath, a modern day victory of good over evil, and a story that turns the words of Joseph to his brothers to real life, that what they meant, what the enemy meant for evil, God would work for his good so that many would be saved. Visit ignitinganation.com, click on Books and Media, get a copy for yourself. It's called Game Changer, the remarkable story of Caroline's cart. It's victory in real life. Drew Long, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And to our audience, we encourage you to tune back in tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Central Time, as we bring you the next edition of Revealing the Truth. In the meantime, share with all your friends this edition of Revealing the Truth, along with the prior interviews. They will rebroadcast all day at ianbn.com, and you'll follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and all those other names of places I just can never remember. But follow us there at Igniting a Nation, and we will bring you a new, fresh message tomorrow with new guests right here from the Igniting a Nation Broadcasting Network. Until we see you tomorrow, we bid you shalom.